I know this is our first video.
So sorry if we're nervous and really awkward. That's just us.
Bueno. Hello everybody, welcome to our channel. I am Leo, this is my lovely wife Ange, and this is officially our first video. Today I wanted to talk about really our first, really the beginning of me and Ange. We have been together for 7 years. We just had our anniversary. All of this started right around 2011. At the time, I was deployed. I was deployed in Afghanistan. I was in the Marine Corps at the time. And it was kind of a little bit strange at the moment because, I was a believer, but I wasn't really seeking and trying to pursue God. Around 2011, it was around May time frame. I wound up, I was just in the state of mind where I didn't want to be alone. That's what it came down to. It was very difficult for me to imagine just not really finding the one. And I've always told people anything that I've ever wanted to do, I've always wanted to be a father. Just be a father, period. Crazy enough, I was literally walking back to my tent. It was literally in the middle of the night, in the middle of the darkness. I randomly, out of the blue, just stopped and prayed. And it was the simplest, most basic prayer I could think of. I looked up and I was like, God, if there's just a woman that you could bring into my life and really just guide me towards the right path and just loves me for who I am, I would truly appreciate it. Where I went into work the next day, and Angela's sister I was deployed with. And I knew the Marine Corps ball was coming up, and we made the Marine Corps ball such a big deal. I randomly just went up to her sister and I was like, hey, look, you gotta have a friend, you gotta have a sister, you gotta have somebody. She told me, I think I might have a sister, but I think she has a boyfriend. And me being 21 years old, being in the military, being as cocky as I could ever be, I was like, when she meets me, she ain't gonna have no boyfriend no more. But she randomly emailed Angela saying, hey, can you send me a picture of you? And Angela's in Michigan, like, this is the most random request I think ever. She said sure, and send her a picture. And I was literally like, that's her? She's like, yeah. I was like, no way is this chick gonna give me a chance. But I didn't say that. I was like, oh, this chick's gonna fall in love with me. Verbatim. And I was so, again, just being full of myself. And at the same time, I didn't know this, but 2 weeks prior, about a week.
You want me to tell my story?
Yeah, you go ahead and say
Okay.
it. Yeah.
So a week and a half or so prior to my sister contacting me, I was laying in bed one night and I had fallen so far away from the Lord. And I remember that night, my daughter was laying in a bassinet next to my bed, and she was such a little baby. And I just remember looking at her and just thinking, why couldn't, certain things happen the way I wanted them to with her father. And that night when I was praying, I cried really, really hard to the Lord. And I was just repeating, I'm sorry, God. I'm sorry for leaving you. I'm sorry for all the bad. So I started praying, and then I said, if you can't change him, change me, fix me, mold me into what you want me to believe. And I remember that specifically. And I remember saying, praying specifics over my future husband, which it was random. I never would have said that. And I said, God, if you could bring me someone who's going to love my daughter like their own. And I prayed specifically for a Puerto Rican man. I prayed specifically for someone tall. I prayed specifically for someone who was a family person, someone who loved to dance. And there was one more thing. But I also said, if you could help me to what's he saying? If you can help me to find this person, I will serve you, you know, forever. And I didn't know that you're not supposed to say stuff like that. And then I got an email from my sister, or she wrote me on Facebook, then told me to email her. Thought it was a bit strange that she contacted me for this. And I didn't tell her this, but I was very hesitant at first. I was like, nah. And I didn't really want to pursue a relationship right then and there, because I had gotten over someone, or I wasn't even like fully over that person just yet. I was having God, you know, help me through that. I ended up sending her the picture. She told me to look up his name on Facebook. So I looked up his name, and he has 2 last names. So I looked up one last name, and this guy said he was in the Marine Corps and that he was Puerto Rican, and he was this massive guy, and no judgment, but he wasn't my type. He was just very massive. He was very like, not in overweight, but he was just, you could tell he worked out a lot. He looked like he was on the show Jersey Shore. So I was like, no. And she was like, well, look at this name. This is the name. And we'll insert a picture of what he looked like and what I saw. And I was like, he wants to talk to me?
The moment me and Angela started talking, I mean, like I told her sister, I was like, hey, I promise you, September, this girl's gonna fly down and visit me. And she's like, no, she's got a kid, she's not gonna do that, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, watch. So next thing you know, I was like, oh, guess who's coming in September to see your boy? She was coming down. So we were officially gonna meet for the first time in September, because I was coming back in August.
We were only really supposed to meet for the ball, but he could not wait to meet me. He specifically said that, actually.
Yeah, I did say that. Lucky me, she thought I was the greatest thing of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So
True story.
No.
As scary as it was, I packed up my bags and I went to North Carolina. I just knew, like, that day that I first met him, I knew that there was forever, that it was forever. I knew that the Lord had his hand all in it. I knew that he was it.
I didn't want this to be just, she was just toying with me or anything. I was like, I think that was my intent to meet her the first time. I was like, I really want her to be authentic, and I want her to be real.
I was nervous.
Yeah, I was nervous too.
I was nervous. I was so nervous. As nervous as I am right now. Not only was I nervous when I first met him, he asked me what my first impression was, and I didn't want to say it.
So once we officially met, we were able to hang out. We were able to interact with one another. We were able to be goofy with one another. We were able to have fun with one another. I'm head over heels at this point. And I was the one saying, I'm gonna make this girl fall in love with me. But I was the one falling in love with her. And I just knew. Like, I knew, and as hard as it may have been to admit that I was the one falling head over heels, I was like, I can't help it. This girl's just amazing, incredible, and I can't deny that I'm madly in love with her. And then eventually we did go to the ball, and we had a great time. Mm-hmm. And a few months after that, we move in with one another, which was another scary thought. Mm-hmm. Like, I was asking her to leave everything she's ever known to be with me. And we've only been, at that point, we were dating for what, maybe 5 or 6 months? I mean, we moved very, very quickly, but
yeah, we did.
When you know, you just know. I mean, you really can't, we just couldn't deny it. We had to be with one another. And everyone always told us, well, you don't really know somebody until you live with that person. So
we did things backwards.
We did everything.
You're not supposed to do it this way.
Please, if you are listening and you are feeling inspired.
We listened to the Lord, honestly. Like, the Lord really did press into us. And think we did everything according to what he wanted us to do. Not necessarily what people thought we should have done. As soon as we got to North Carolina, I remember asking him like, hey, what are we going to do? Are we going to go to church this weekend? Because I honestly felt like we owe it to God as a couple. Like we owed it to him, to just be in his presence always, because it's him that brought us together. And, you said, yeah, you had a friend that had a church, and we went and visited that church, and we never stopped going since that very first weekend that I moved with you. Then the pastor got us one time. We'll save a lot of this for other videos, what he said, but he got us, and we weren't married when we moved in together. Like I said, we did everything backwards, and yeah, and so I mean, he felt the Lord really tell him through our pastor that he needed to ask for my hand, and he did. So we got married, and this is like all
within
short.
7 to 8 months.
Yep.
And I mean, literally, we officially met each other for the first time September.
Mm-hmm.
We were married in June. Mm-hmm. It was, I mean, she moved down in March. Like, met my family one time, and not even my whole family. Mm-hmm. You know, just met my mom in November. I met her mom and her dad, and it was like, okay, well, we did what we were supposed to do, I guess. Yeah, let's just move on from here. But I could understand now why a lot of our parents were like, you guys are moving way too fast, blah, blah, because being parents, we understand that.
Now.
Clearly
yeah.
is, you know, like, clear as day.
Mm-hmm.
But I think at the time, I don't think they understood how deep we were trying to continue to be in God's word and continue to, you know, use him as our foundation.
Yeah, at the time, they just thought we were crazy.
Yeah, they just thought we were puppy love. That's, I guess, initially our first story.
Yep.
Our story is a little unique, obviously. You know, me being in a different country, her being in the U.S., and somehow God brought us together. And it wasn't something that we were expecting. And a lot of people might feel that way, that if they pray, you know, for a change, or they pray for a situation, they're expecting those immediate results. And, you know, it's not necessarily going to be on your time. It's going to be on God's time. And for us, we were blessed and fortunate enough to have it work in our favor almost immediately. Mm-hmm. So I will say to anybody out there, or whoever watches this, if you feel like there's a moment in your life that God isn't listening, or God isn't God isn't there, if you feel like he's just not paying attention to you, or you may have any doubt, just know that he's going to show up in a miraculous way, and he's going to, what you're asking for, he's going to go above and beyond, as long as you continue to have faith, as long as you continue to believe in his word, believe in his love, believe in his mercy, his grace, and it's going to flourish. It's absolutely going to flourish. Right. So for anyone watching out there, we want to thank y'all for just really showing us at least a little bit of love. I know this is our first video.
So sorry if we're nervous and really awkward. That's just us.
We're weird. No.
Just a little awkward.
It's going to take a little time. You know, obviously we want this to grow in the right way, because we want to use this as a platform to,
absolutely,
you know, bring glory to God. And y'all have questions, leave a comment down below. We appreciate you. Like, share, subscribe to our channel. And
next stories or next videos will be his testimony, Leo's testimony, and my testimony. So be on the lookout for those videos. We have some pretty juicy testimonies. So
tune in.
Anyways.
All right. Thank y'all. Love y'all.
Bye.
Have a good night.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching.